Make one tap, you get a conversation with your customer that never ends.
You know how many people have been to your venue. You know how many people have tapped you. I'm just going to scan.
Yeah, I was like, you need to talk to Ryan. He's got Tap the Table. Don't even waste your time. He's got a solution.
It just works.
And that's why Tap the Table exists in the first place. Boom. And then you just start doubling the price. That's that right there.
We're doing different things.
I'm going to tell you what works based on what I have literally seen. Stop. Just tap your phone. Boom, done. Easy.
What is going on, people of the internet, man? For once, it's not midnight when I'm doing this thing. It's not in the gangster hours, as I like to call them. It's not the nerdiest time of day. This is the fun time of day. And it's a special episode of the Chatbot Podcast because we are joined by one of, I think, the coolest, most authentic voices in the hospitality restaurant space. And I'm talking about the one, the only, Kyle and Sarah. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's going on, Ryan? Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for taking time out of your day to join our little show. I know we've got a lot of people excited, but it looks like, man, you're traveling all over the place. You're actually kind of hard to keep up with on the old gram here, and that's actually where I found you. And before I let you rip, ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever wondered, does social media work, or does this video stuff I'm doing on TikTok mean anything? His social presence is how we're connected. We don't know each other at all. I'm just a actual fan of the content that this guy's putting out. And so I'm going to leave it at that. And Kyle, just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, I appreciate that. It's funny. So many people still don't believe that you can have real connections on social. So yeah, that's a great point to bring up.
Totally.
My story's pretty common. I started out in the restaurant business as a dishwasher. Kind of always had a passion for the industry. Went to college, thought I was going to go do the right thing and find a real job, quote unquote real job, as everyone was calling it back then. And two planes hit the World Trade Center, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to. I was working on Wall Street at the time. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I enrolled in culinary school, and sort of the rest is history after that.
The rest is history. I like that. And so you're involved in a whole bunch of different things, including you are the host of the National Restaurant Owners Podcast, which I think is a really cool niche. Why don't you tell the folks a little bit about that podcast, man?
So I was a restaurant owner for about 14 years. And I always found that, I grew up in the corporate world. Like I had worked corporate jobs before, and if you have a question, you need some help with a project, you ask somebody down the hall. You say, hey, I don't quite get this, or I've never run into this before. And, the restaurant industry typically, or historically rather, is not known for that, right? You can't go talk to another restaurant owner. He's got his own problems. He doesn't have time to deal with you. So in that regard, I thought the best way to get in front of these owners and help save them, to be honest, from themselves or actually save their business was to share my experience. I was not a perfect restaurant owner by any means, but I learned a lot by doing. And I thought having other restaurant owners on the show where they could share their experience in the same way, it would be beneficial to the operators out there right now.
And so, man, that's a really cool story there. And so how's it been received? I mean, obviously, I'm not a restaurant owner, but have been involved in the restaurant space and know many, many restaurant owners myself. But how's it been received? Are they making time to listen in to all the things, or is it more of you're getting just all the new exposure and awareness from all different types, like weirdos like me?
No, it's been, you find the industry gets really small, right? Like we'll find out that you and I know each other. Next thing, you're hometown or you're coming to New York, and it's been a lot of that. So a lot of connections, with guests obviously is one thing, but it's been really incredible is the word that I would use. I right now I'm no longer a restaurant owner, but I work with restaurants across the country, helping them build out their real estate pipeline. And, I'm finding that I'm not only getting owners and operators, but people who might be interested in being an owner one day. Some people have to feel that out for a couple of years before they actually pull the trigger. And it's getting to the point where people are coming up to me on the street in my home neighborhood here. Oh, I love the show. I heard the show. It's been a big help for us. So my vision is that it's on in kitchens, or it's when some restaurant owner sits down the other night to run the numbers, is just listening to something or walking their dog, But overall, it's been really, really tremendous feedback. I've been actually blown away a bit by it. So yeah, it's been great.
That is really powerful, and I think it's clear that because you're actually a guy that you know what you're talking about, you're getting mad respect from these folks and restaurant owners in general, and I guess business owners in general, but especially restaurant owners. They're hard to impress, man. They see every walk of life, and so to get them to buy in to whatever it is you're talking about is a big deal, and I think that needs to be like celebrated, because in the business world, everyone is just hungry for information, but in the restaurant business world, it's such a different segment, at least in my experience, because they're dealing with a bajillion things during the day to get information and get it consistently. I think something that a lot of them just don't have time for. So for them to make that time to listen to you, kudos to you, man.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think what it is that what they like. Some guy actually brought this to my attention is I can listen to it when I can listen to it, because they do have a million things going on, right? So they can listen when they are doing things like walking their dog or paying invoices or whatever the case is. So yeah, I think part of it, it's the format. Podcasts is when you consume. They're not going to sit down and really read too many things anymore, right? We consume a lot of stuff digitally. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it, is that, the Amazon effect. I want it when I want it. So it's, totally. That's definitely played into it for sure.
So another facet of the restaurant segment, or the restaurant industry in general, I guess, is real estate. That's a big one. I've got some really good friends in the real estate industry, and a lot of them are just crushing it on the residential side. And so, I'm not so hip to what's happening on the commercial side of real estate. I know there's some, industry disrupting things happening on that side of things. And when you're looking at ghost kitchens and other bigger companies taking advantage of situations, what are you seeing on the real estate side? And are you dealing with, I guess, specifically just commercial, or are you also residential real estate guru too?
So the only thing I deal with is retail restaurant real estate. So yeah, you're right. There's been a lot of disruption in that. There's been a lot of restructuring of internal layouts for restaurants based on, now they're going to do more delivery. They're putting another line in the kitchen, more outdoor seating, things of that nature. But yeah, essentially, given my experience, I was fortunate to work for somebody who was very successful doing exactly what I do now. And she taught me a lot. And we basically sit side by side with restaurant groups, and our team functions as your outsourced real estate department. So whether you are looking in New York, whether you're looking in South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, DC, wherever you want to look, where you focus on your business, everything runs through us. Everything runs through us in terms of site selection that we're after, sites that maybe, we have relationships with brokers that will send us sites. Because a lot of times restaurant owners are reacting to signs in the market, right? They see a sign that's available. That's available. This is available. I heard they're closing. And that's like one way of finding restaurant space. But the reality is the best spaces come from relationships that we have with brokers who say, hey, you know what? That Jamba Juice is going out. That Starbucks is closing. It still looks like they're open, but it'll be available in 6 months if your client's interested. So we do all that homework in all the markets and help them, map out a pipeline. Some groups are looking to open up, hey, I got to open up 5 this year. Maybe have franchise groups in different markets that have to open up a certain number of units. So it's a lot more work than what people think if you're looking to build, multi-unit concept. But overall, the market has, I think the COVID effect is over. Landlords are not, there's no more discounts. So we're back to playing the ball the way we were. And, it's refreshing, and it's exciting to see all these different new concepts that are out there and looking to take advantage of this new world, this new digital world that we're in.
That is a slam dunk line, a couple lines there, my friend. I think you nailed it. And, I think that we're only going to see, as absurd as it is already in my area, and, places from, Hilton Head where I live all the way down to Florida, it just seems like everything is exploding and increasing in price. I don't necessarily see it slowing down.
No.
I think that we kind of, myself included, like bought into the hype earlier this year, thinking, well, the sky is falling, and I thought totally we were going to see a crash. But that's also why I do not gamble because I would be broke. I'm just not that guy. I'm more the I have to look at the data, and when I sometimes just take that guess, I get it wrong, and I totally got it wrong. And I've just seen nothing but skyrocketing values and increasing prices, and every story that I hear is either I'm having to leave my house, leave my home because the landlord's selling, and I put an offer in, but they've got offers that are way above asking price that I can't compete with. To I just made an extra $200,000 on my home that I've sold. There's such big wins, and there's such on the other side of things, just kind of sad stories here with all these I guess inflation and increased prices.
Yeah, it's retail has struggled, right? Restaurants have obviously clearly had an issue fighting all the mandates and what they can and can't do in different markets. Not clear on, and not even running clear what we can and can't do here in New York. I was in the city the other day. Some places you wear a mask, some places you don't have to wear a mask, some places checking for a vaccine card, some places refusing checking for a vaccine card. So there's been a lot of hurdles. Price is one thing for the restaurants and retailers. But the digital aspect of it right now, even from somebody who makes his living off of transacting on real estate, I don't think that restaurants and retailers are looking to be on, they don't need to be on the corner of First and Main now. Like, they're looking at other options, and that's something that's certainly impacting the industry. From not only because you think about it, but if your occupancy costs are less, maybe you can do more things. You can invest more in your digital. You can expand into another location quicker. There's a lot of things you can do with that extra cash once you figure out who you are and how you're going to adapt to the environment. But it is definitely a unique time, and I still think it's not too late to be opportunistic.
Well, I think that is the only way to be is on that positive outlook on things. Otherwise, you're already behind. You're going to lose eventually. I also think, and you mentioned some things there, and you hinted at it in certain ways. The digital side of things has really just changed the game in all industries. I think that, corporate real estate may have less, and I say this, again, this is like more my gut speaking than anything of as far as data goes, I guess, other than some articles I can recall. But it seems like maybe that office space in certain cases wasn't so important after all. When we're seeing so many people, staying home for whatever reason, working remotely, I get it. But I also see that there's huge value in going to a centralized workplace and environment. And in some cases, I think it's totally unnecessary. What are your thoughts there? Do you think that we're going to just see a giant shift? I guess one trend that comes to mind is the real estate in New York City, or that area has just been famously expensive. And then there's been, kind of an exodus out of the city as things have been locked down, from what we're hearing way down here in the redneck south of South Carolina. So is that true? What's going on up there?
It was probably earlier this summer. I was walking around the city, and you could walk, Midtown Manhattan. I'm talking about Rockefeller Center, Times Square, the heart of the city, right? Like, we were walking down Madison Avenue, right down the middle of the street. There were no cars, there were no people. That has changed now, right? It has changed, and I think it's going to continue to change. You have people like Morgan Stanley saying, the higher ups at Morgan Stanley and some of these financial institutions, like, you get your ass back to the office. This is how this is done. Is it? I don't know. I don't know that it is. I don't think human beings are necessarily super efficient just because they're in an office. I think that they're there, right? Like, I'm here. You want me to be here? I'm here. I'm doing my job. But let's face it, half the time they're on their phone. Another time they're getting coffee. They go get an hour lunch break. Some of them are smoking cigarettes. So you gotta have the discipline to get the job done, whether you're in the office or whether you're at home, whatever the case is. I think some of the less traditional businesses are going to find that it's more cost effective, just as efficient to have some sort of hybrid system where, like, hey, you come to the office 2-3 times a week. The rest, we don't care. You work from the Starbucks, you work from where we work, you work from your home. Whatever you want to do, just get the job done. I think it's just a real way of thinking. It's not a remember before people were like, I just wish I could work from home. I don't want to commute. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And it's just, stay at home. Moms maybe have that opportunity Some dads had that opportunity when they had a child, and some jobs just were home-based businesses. But it's front and center now. It can get done. It's just, there's technology. Again, to your point before, there's technology that will allow them to do that. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch it play out for sure.
This is why I think that you're probably one of the fastest growing figures in the space, man. You're just you hold nothing back and you keep it real. And I agree with everything that you said. And I worked at places years and years ago at this point that I knew that more than half of the staff was just looking at YouTube all day. And like to me, I've always looked at things, at least tried to in my head, as the business owner, to try to understand the decisions that were made, whether I like them or not in any environment. But I've always had that mentality. So when I would see this, and I'm thinking, like, you're getting paid here to be on YouTube. Yeah. You have absolutely nothing to ever complain about if this is your life. And they're just so, they're co-workers, or used to be co-workers, ready for that Friday paycheck and the weekend. And for me, for the past, I guess, nearly 24 months now, every day is the same, except for Sunday. I go to church. But other than that, every day is the same. The weekend, this means nothing to me. And it was kind of interesting in the beginning of 2020, as a person that generally stays home in the home office here to do the work that I do. It was crazy to just see the influx of people just like, well, my entire street is also home now. This is a weird feeling. And it's still not back fully, I guess. It still blows my mind. There are states that are still on lockdown totally, I guess from what I'm hearing. In South Carolina, it's basically just another day, and we're kind of doing what we need to do. There's very little push on the mask whole deal here, and Florida all the way down. I think these three states, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, are about the same. We're kind of doing our thing, but we're making it.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. I think before the pandemic, even through the pandemic, people start to realize you can't say this is never going to change, right? Like, I think the pandemic just kind of really put, and when I say this, I mean like anything, really, anything. This is always the way it's going to be. I mean, history has taught us that those are like famous last words, right? And I think Gary Vaynerchuk says something like, you don't want to be, the person buying all the horses when the Model T rolls off the assembly line. And I think that's where we're at. Is you can see the industries. I'm in one of them, commercial real estate, where they're going to say, well, they're saying this is not how it's done. A commercial real estate guy can't have a podcast and social media and curse and show pictures of his dog and his wife at the beach. You can't do that. But you can. And it turns out that it's what people really want, right? They want to connect with people. They want to work from home. Things still get done. If you're a good employee at home, or in the office rather, you're probably going to be a good employee at home. You got to get the work done. The impact that's going to have on retail and restaurants in particular is a different story, which is, again, the digital stuff I think will come in. And I think just like the offices, the answer is going to be some sort of hybrid system for that as well. Like buy it online, pick it up in the store. Pick it up in the store, return it somewhere. You don't have to go back to the store. Whatever it looks like, I think I just hate when people say, no, that's not the way that it's done. Says who?
The way it's done, right? Exactly. Yeah. And that's a big thing that I'm a big proponent of, is doing things your own way, because in so many forms there's just not a right way, or the right way could change tomorrow. So with technology, the way how fast it moves, for me, I remember back in January of 2020, people were, my friends were clowning me for resurrecting the QR code. Well, again, maybe we're just slow here in South Carolina. In January, there was no such thing as a pandemic. That did not exist. Like, the thought of the lockdowns and masks and all this stuff did not exist in January. And matter of fact, my wife and I we in February, I'm glad that we went. We just had gone to South Africa, to visit one of my wife's friends out there for like 2 weeks, and then literally the day we're on the way back is when the president stopped all the travel. So that could have been a really interesting.
Yeah, you could still be there.
Yeah, but I remember hearing the U.S. is running out of toilet paper on the airplane coming back home, and I'm thinking, what is going on? And then boom, the lockdowns happened. Truthfully, it only propelled what I was doing in the beginning, just supercharged it. And in a way, I almost felt guilty it's like profiting off of a terrible situation, but it's not that. It's just technology. It's a QR code is everywhere that you look nowadays, and that's kind of a big deal with us. But I think that the last topic, because I don't want to take too much of your time, and you've just been slaying this interview like I knew you would. This is the big question that I've got that I don't think anyone's got the perfect answer for, to go ahead and set you up there. But the employee problem or shortage or whatever it is, what is going on with hospitality employment specifically, and any other tidbit you want to add to that you're seeing is another fun perspective on what's the new normal, which I hate that phrase. I'll never say that. But what do you think there? Because you'd be a guy that would really have a interesting opinion on this.
Unfortunately, it's a self-inflicted wound. I think that the industry did it to themselves. It's been years, right? I mean, it's become the point where it's a joke, where chefs were mocked in movies or mimicked, whatever it is, for throwing pans or cursing or being drinkers and abusing the staff or whatever. So now, right, you take all those things, making servers work, Friday, Saturday doubles with a Sunday brunch shift for weeks, for years, and not allowing them to call out when they're sick, and not understanding when the babysitter doesn't show up, and just allowing things to go there that let's be honest, racism, sexual harassment, whatever the case is in the job place, right? And now you give them 6 months, a year to sit back and be like, do I really want to go back to that? Or maybe my Etsy shop is going to be able to pay my rent and I'll figure it out and I'll do something else. Or I'll go to the place where they actually are treating me right. They're treating me with respect. They understand that I have a kid. They understand that I have another job, or that I go to school, or, it's been a self-inflicted wound that unfortunately I think the only way that this was going to get resolved is if everything just capitulated and the world stopped and everybody had a second to look at the industry and say, really, why aren't these people going back to work? Why aren't they going back to work? Here's the list. Here's the list. And if the owner didn't take a chance to say, you know what, holy shit, you're right. Sorry, I don't know if you can curse, but you're right. You're right. Yeah, I got to do a better job. I got to stay on top of that. I got to make sure the manager's not drinking on the ship. I got to make sure the chef is, treating people right in the kitchen. I got to make sure that, servers who show up late or hungover or whatever, or sick, that they're not in the place. They're affecting our business. And it's a certain level, they let it slide, right? Business winning fixes everything. Everything's good. Business is good. Sales are coming in. You just kind of accept it as a norm, but it's unfortunately not okay. It's not okay. And then, there's a lot in there, the fair wage for the front of the house and the back of the house, and tipping and all this stuff. It needed a pause for everybody to look at. And I hope that's actually one of the best things to come out of this industry. So I think if you're looking for a job, if you're on that side of it, and even if you're just doing it part-time, it's never been a better opportunity to kind of make your own way. And if you're an industry lifer, take your pick. Take your pick. I mean, there are, I don't know how many restaurants in this country. Every single one of them needs somebody to work. So the opportunity is there, and you have to pick. You've never been in a better position to negotiate your schedule, your salary, and really where you want to work. So there's a bright side to this. You just got to dig through it. It's ugly right now, and it has been for a long time, but I think we're on the other side of it. We're getting the other side of it.
Again, agree with everything you said. Plus, I'm going to drop something from just one of your recent videos or podcasts I was listening to about when does the restaurant close. If they post 10 p.m. and the person comes in at 9:55, like I know this is like a big thing and like kind of viral, and I think that's what I remember. But it's such a real thing, and that's a philosophy and standard that I think is not consistent across the board, and that's why there is so much controversy surrounding it. But here's what I believe: as a graduate of a hospitality program, that is where my I originally got the love of hospitality that I have, although I'm more on the tech side now of things. I don't believe that we're going to have room for the people that are going to be those complainers that are like, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to do that, because when I was listening to you, all I heard was selfish people and selfish people that have, in my opinion, tarnished the industry and do on the daily. I'm in all these groups on Facebook and just see the nastiness, and I get the living wage deal here. But at the same time, people are only going to do what they're willing to do, just to your point. And so when there are other options that are better, they're going to take those options. At the same time, when you've got the country club down the street that can pay the dishwasher $25 an hour, you better believe they're going to be the cleanest dishes on the whole gosh darn island.
Yeah, right.
You know, and so you get what you pay for, buy nicer, buy twice. I believe that there's no room for these unhospitable people in the industry that have just snuck their way in. I think that'll be taken care of by technology or different employment structure. And so I think hopefully everyone wins except for like the losers that are just like, they don't belong there anyway. They go work at the DMV, I guess. Yeah. You know, seriously. I'm going to get a lot of hate for that probably, but that's really what I think.
It's a great point. And, you know, that post that you're referring to got, number one, I put it up in like 3 seconds because I was on this challenge where I had to do 3 TikToks a day with this other group of chefs. And they're like, you gotta do it. And my wife's calling for dinner. And I'm like, oh, I gotta do one. So I just thought of something. I looked up something online and I got the idea to do it and went crazy. But yeah, you're exactly right. And I say this, and I'm 100% with you. We'll back you to anybody who has anything, you know, contrary to say. If you don't feel like, oh wow, they just came in, they're hungry, we should serve them, right? Or, you know, hey, I know we're not supposed to have, you know, 6 seats at this table, but they're not cutting, whatever it is. Like, be hospitable and understanding, and that makes you roll your eyes or get pissed off or look at your watch or pull your phone out because you have someplace else to be. You don't have to work there, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in, this is a hard enough job if you actually have a passion for it. Mm-hmm. You are pissed off and you have to serve a table an hour later. Go work somewhere else. Maybe it is a DMV. I don't know where it is, but it's not here, and that's not a knock on you. In 2-3 years, maybe 2-3 weeks, you might be like, you know what, you're right. You're right. It was the best thing I did was to get out of there. But to sit there and complain and provide bad service is not okay. And you can't do that in anybody's job. If you work at the DMV, they wouldn't let you go. Maybe.
Well, you know, I guess to another point you made in the past is about the experience. If it's about the to-go food, that's a whole different argument and story and like different ballgame. We won't go there. But when you're going to a place, it is there to, yes, enjoy the food and drinks, but it's also to be a part of an experience with people, you know? And that hit home for me when you said that, and it makes all the sense. So as a business owner, if I do own a restaurant and I have a bad apple that has ruined someone's experience, I know many people that live here on Hilton Head that they will spend $30,000 or $40,000 at a restaurant during a year. You know, they have nothing else to spend their money on. They're riding around in their boats, dropping cash at these places, and when they feel slighted or they feel less than welcome, which I've just seen so many times, and it blows me away. It's just it's such a bad look. So there's a reason, and you know, this is why I don't believe in, you know, such a standardized wage, I guess. There are levels to everything. I think we can agree, right? You're at a very high level in everything that you do. And I think that taking the example of restaurants that are maybe on the beach, hello, Tiki Hut on Hilton Head, this is a very unique place. These bartenders and servers are easily able to walk away with between $300 and $600 in a day without breaking a sweat. Well, they're all sweating all day as part of the you know, gig there. The Ruby Tuesday server, well, I'm not saying they're bad people, they're not the same caliber. The Ruby Tuesday server cannot handle dealing with 1,000 people that are drunk on the beach wanting all this stuff. So the pay that they're able to get through that means, I believe, is always going to outweigh the $25 an hour that you won't find those same people. So I think things work out in the restaurant industry differently, but I think that's the cool thing about business in America. We can do kind of what we want, you know?
Yeah, and it's like you said before, that entitlement of like, oh no.
Entitlement, yes, that's the word.
My table, this table, I'm not going to get a tip. Well, hey, guess what? It's not about your tip on this one table. It's about when they come back 25 times, or because we blow the doors off in this one, and we go over the top and we have extra desserts and we send them home with something for the kid who couldn't make it. It's about them coming back 25 times, not at maybe 9:45. Or they tell all their friends and they come back, because if you're a server, we're in this together, right? Like you want me to be good at the customer acquisition. So then don't tell me that we should be kicking them out before our post time. Like because they're the same servers who will say like, oh, it wasn't busy, or you sat me in the wrong section, or I'm working too much, or I'm working too little. Look, You can't walk out of Costco at 9 o'clock if you're working there when they close, right? You're there until they're done walking around the aisles. They're in there. They're closed in Walmart until they're done. You get the little announcement, "Hey, attention, Walmart shoppers, we'll be closing in 15 minutes." Yeah, but you're still in there. They're not letting anybody else in. They want you to get up there and get out, but you can go kicking people out. They won't come back. And then what do we have?
I'm telling you, here's my last question, and this is going to wrap it up perfectly, I think. So, with that, not that you go to McDonald's. I, however, love me some McDonald's in the morning. I'm a drive-through guy, and so I'll go grub out on some McDonald's breakfast food. Well, when it's very busy and I have little time in the morning, sometimes I decide to go inside, get out of my truck and go inside. I was absolutely blown away. They've taken away the area where you would typically walk up to tell the order to the person, and instead they have these screens, right? These giant screens, right? And I guess it's really popular in airports, but here in the slow country where I live, I was not expecting that. And so as a tech guy, that to me is so cool. And then I'm thinking to myself, and I've said this as a joke, I'll be 32 tomorrow, birthday time, and I said if I ever have a kid, it'll be fun one day to take them through a drive-through at McDonald's and say, son, daughter, back in my day, people used to make your food and hand it to me in a window. So now that we do have robotics and all this, technology, automation happening in the restaurant, do you think we're going to see that in a mainstream way? Just like this screen takes away the job of the cashier, essentially. We got Wingstop saying they want to do 100% digital orders, which is right up my alley. Hello, Wingstop. But do you think that we're going to see that? Eventually, everything's just robots. We're going to lose the soul of food if that happens.
I think to varying degrees, the tech space is going to implement everything from the McDonald's of the world to the Michelin star, 3-star restaurants, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's a QR code, whether it's the way they're getting customer data, whether it's the way they're taking the order, it's going to impact one way or the other. But I think the level of it comes down to expectations, right? The level of hospitality you're expecting out of McDonald's is very low. You're not looking to be $1 billion to go there, right? If you're going to, a Michelin star restaurant in New York City or in, overseas somewhere, you're paying, $300-400 a meal. You're expecting a certain level of service. That doesn't mean that when you walked in, you didn't have to give your email, your contact information to get your, to get the reservation. You didn't pay by something at the table. Whatever other, the air purification is different technology. They have some sort of inventory system for the bar in the back that's really automated. It's all going to be for the better, and it's all not going to be like robot servers and all that stuff. But I think, you're never going to take away the soul of the restaurant by putting in, and I say never, because I think that's something that people come out for is the experience. And I'm sure there could be an experience where there are no servers. Maybe we're not there yet, and I could be wrong, but that connection with people and the experience is what is going to drive the industry. And I think for the expectation of you pull up to McDonald's, you pull up to Chick-fil-A, just give me my food. I love the food. I'm craving it. Get me out of here. All technology all day long, though. They're going to embrace it fully. But it'll be varying degrees. It's going to impact every restaurant from there all the way up, I think, for here on out.
Well, man, I think this was one of the most informative and fun interviews we have done in a long time, and I really greatly appreciate you making the time for us. Is there anything that we should know, like our last question here, is there anything we should know about you or what you've got going on in the near future or the long term that you want to end with that I haven't asked you about?
Man, I just want to be considered a resource, so
totally. You are that.
And anything that I can do to help restaurant owner or somebody who's considering opening their own business, there's a link in my Instagram bio for a free call. I'm not looking to get paid for that. I just want to, sometimes you're just off. You just need to know why I'm not making money, or what can I do about this partnership, or how can I talk to my landlord, or, and sometimes it's one sentence. And I've found that those calls, 15 minutes is all you need. And, so that would be it. And if I can serve as a resource and help save somebody from the mistakes that I've made, then that's what I really see it as my mission here. So that's really all I would say.
You are the man, Kyle. I really appreciate that. And on my little island of Hilton Head, I'm not sure if you've ever been in the area, but we've got 250 plus restaurants in about 12 square miles. So It's a lot of
golf.
lot of golf. Yep, exactly. Really beautiful beaches here. You let me know if you ever come this way. But I'm sure I'm lucky enough to have quite a few of those restaurants as clients. And I actually just saw a text from Sally, one of my favorite owners, just came in. I'll be visiting their place here in just a little bit. I'll definitely have to link you guys up. She's going to have to start her own podcast talking about the restaurant life, and she's opened up her second location. She's got more fun stuff to announce, but y'all would be fun to have on together on a show.
We should do it with the three of us.
Yeah, man, definitely. And again, dude, I really appreciate it. You are the man. We can never do anything for you. You just let us know. But for now, we'll see you later.
I appreciate you having me on, and I'm very grateful for the work you're doing for the restaurant industry, and look forward to staying in touch.
You are the man. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been a really fun one. Kyle is the real deal, y'all. He's the real deal. And if you do have questions about restaurant real estate, about anything in the restaurant game, definitely follow that link. I'll be sure to include it in the description below. You guys can be sure to stay tuned for some other big announcements on the TTT side of things. As always, thank y'all for watching. Y'all have a good one.